Alrighty, I'm back once again. This time I'm going to talk about the finals of the championship of League of Legends World Championship, which ended in a not so surprising SKT win, but it was 3-2. It could just have as well have been a Samsung win after an epic comeback. Staring down the barrel in game 3, they made it happen. Samsung, but couldn't pull through in the last game, which were basically a toss up about between who won basically one fight. So if they had won and Ruler hadn't fucked up, they would they could just as well have been champions of League of Legends. But shit happens. But I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. This kind of recap I'm having of the finals. I watched it in the cinema. It was really amazing here in Denmark. Um, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought both teams just overall played amazing. The mechanics were tremendous. The pick and ban were okay to good. And basically there were some few misplays, but you can't really blame them. There were some problems at the Baron and closing out games, but the closing out were mostly just due to lacking siege potential of the comps. But that's a theme of this series, at least the first 3 games. I basically think that Faker is completely, alongside with Bengi, is totally the MVP of this series. Faker basically won at least 2 of the games single-handedly, and Bengi helped a lot as well. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Bang in this series. I didn't think he did that well. He did alright on Jin, which I didn't understand why people were prioritizing Ash that much when Jin is just running rampage. But you never know why they do certain things. They probably know better than me. But let's run through it. Game 1, SKT picks Trundle, Olaf, and Oriana, and Jin and Karma. A solid comp, but lacks one thing: CC. It's so solid in lanes. All the lanes are good. The scaling is amazing, but they can't siege and they have no CC whatsoever, and that was a problem. Even though they completely stumped Samsung in this game. Samsung had Poppy, Lee Sin, which did nothing in this game at least, until the late game at least. Then they had Crown with Victor and Caitlyn, and called JJ on Syra, which were a great pick in this series. I think, personally, there was some shit lanes for picking Lee Sin. I don't understand why you would pick Lee Sin, and I'm still completely lost in why you're blind picking Poppy, because you are at a disadvantage in the lane constantly unless you make something happen early and make the Trundle be useless. And it's not useless when you make it have all the farm in the world. Even though Cuvée played amazing on Poppy in team fights, at least with the ultimate and the stuns. But I didn't understand it. It was alright, but there was constant pressure from Duke with it. And I think, at least in my opinion, you put yourself at a disadvantage with doing that. Ambition couldn't do shit in these lanes. Pot lane had nothing to do because they couldn't trade at all early on, and in the mid game. They're basically too weak. Crown and Faker were just trying to hold even, and that was about it. But eventually, SKT actually pulled through and looked very convincing. But when they had to finish the game, they ran the, and that was also a theme of this series. That they kind of slacked off a bit on the of on closing things out, and I think they made some big mistakes at that point, and disrespected completely the damage of the Victor, and as well as the Caitlyn. They could have lost this game easily, but it's kind of hard because Samsung had to play on the back foot each time, and they basically had some one where you have to pull something out of the hat, and it's so hard to do that constantly, and they couldn't do anything against it. It was pretty much GG due to a draft, in my opinion, even though it's stalled out, and I think Samsung, the only reason they were close to do anything in this game were primarily that SKT had no siege or just hard CC. If I was SKT, I would just have put a Oriana ball on Bengi, make him pop ulti immediately, and then bang, open up with her ulti and make them go away from the tower. Just pull them off the inhibitor towers and make it simple. Or at least when you're not making any kind, you can't bait because they know too well they can't enter the jungle. Well, game 2, this one was a complete stump. SKT owned Samsung in this one. It wasn't even close. 31 minutes. To put it short, as Samsung went with a heavy damage comp with a Kindred, which I didn't understand at all. Completely negates their own burst, and it can't do shit it doesn't fit Ambition's playstyle. He has no impact on the lanes. He has to farm up, not the kind of thing you want. He was left alone. He had no mobility on the character. It just didn't fit him. And then they made some plays happen in the early game. That was great. But then they dropped the ball in the Faker outplays along with the team, and the momentum shifts because he plays an amazing Rise, and then they get water control, and for some reason Samsung kept staying in lanes for way too long, abandoned the top lane, made Ambition roam into the jungle to try to get Vision alone, and the bot lane was doing nothing bot lane, and they had to shift up the appliance, and it went completely to shit. They couldn't do anything, and with no vision and with no way of Curve doing some teleports, ultimates, it was GG. Nothing to do in this game. Really boring to watch. And at this point you thought it was GG. 3-0. You had seen this movie before. Then game 3. Really, probably one of the greatest League of Legends matches I've ever watched. It was a weird one where Crown had to play Aurelion Sol, and Ambition was back on Lee Sin, and Crown had to do something with Aurelion Sol, but it completely failed. And it was so forced, and they could have easily ganked top lane, but they never wanted to gank top lane for some reason. There were no wards, and there were no... SKT could see the bot lane gank come from a mile off. They should have done something else. But then, all of a sudden, Ruler, he gets just 1 or 2 items, or 3 items, before a very risky Baron fight, where SKT slacks once again and doesn't respect the damage at all from Ezreal. Jhin takes a stupid ass engage, really cocky, and then Ruler basically blows SKT up, and the momentum shifts. Even though they can't close it at all, Samsung, and there's a lot of there's probably about 5 fights where split seconds decisions terms that this game doesn't end either way. It could have went either way very easily. So it's very, very narrow. And basically all fights were surrounded about getting the carries down, crown or ruler down, faker or bang down, GG. And it was really, really intense. But at the end, Samsung had way too much damage to for SKT to do anything, but it was really close. And I gotta say, I'm so tired of watching the Dragon focus. It's way too risky to go for, and as well, there's no way on earth it's not paying off at all. Even though you have buffs in advance, I don't see the profit, and it stalls out way too much. The problem with these two comps were, once again, that SKT can't. They had no kind of siege. This time they had They had more CC, but I think, in my opinion, sometimes they abandoned their carries a little, and in game 4 they did really poorly job of defending their carries. But this one, I think it's so hard. I barely can remember all the fights because there were so many, and it was so intense to watch. Really, really fun game to watch. Everybody should watch it. Can only recommend it. Really, really fun to watch. I think Samsung kind of fucked up in the sense that they didn't cheat enough. They kept surrounding themselves in the jungle, trying to make something happen out of nowhere, and Ambition kind of forced placed a little too much, even though he made an amazing Dragon Steel. That's another thing. So it was kind of hit or miss with Ambition, as well as Ruler. I think sometimes he plays well enough in fights, but sometimes he completely fucks up his position and doesn't understand when to go in. He could learn a lot of just watching Bang play carries. He doesn't make the wrong. He has timing in his skill set, and I don't think Ruler has it quite yet nailed down. Then game 4, it was actually reminded me of kind of game 2, in a sense. SKT put in blank, which I didn't understand at all. Banking was not the problem at all. SKT lacked damage, had too much, had 2 weak lanes in my opinion. Ambition made an amazing job of tracking down Zac. Blank made some horrendous plays. SKT got baited in. They didn't have a proper vision around the Baron, and didn't respect QA enough, in my opinion, and over-engaged. And basically, when you have fucked up once against that kind of comp, there's no way back, because then Samsung had complete vision control, and all plays were basically just a loss for SKT from there on out. And basically, Samsung did the right thing because they couldn't siege properly. They just engaged hard on and made some pickoffs. Really nice one. Game 5, this was just actually, even though somebody might not like Time Kench, I really enjoyed them picking it. The problem for me with Samsung's comp was that I didn't understand why you would pick Olaf. I know you're going late game, but I think they should have taken at least an. I think it would have been better, but because you need to reach the backline, they couldn't with this comp. I think they missed out on using some plays. They got a little too passive, and then Ruler completely fucked up. Threw it all away, and basically it was 2 comps who couldn't do shit unless somebody made a misplay, because they were pretty much identical comps who had the same kind of skill set, with 2 mages who had amazing burst and 280 carries which scaled amazing into the late game, and two protective, really protective supports, and two disengage slash, yeah, something like that, front lines. And then ambition. I just couldn't see for myself how this Olaf is going to work without some kind of speed up of using Core JJ a little better. And I didn't understand the Olaf when you're not using the old Core JJ ult a little better. I would have loved to seen them not doing the karma ban. I didn't understand it really. But that was just to prevent, I guess, a losing bot lane. But then again, I think that you can lane against Karma with Tahm Kench, or pick up Karma instead. But you make it first pick priority, maybe. I don't think Olaf is a first pick priority. Even though Bengi plays it well, there's no way they could make it work either. Because there is no, that of course there is Orianna, but Faker clearly didn't want to play Orianna anymore. That was for certainty. So I think they could have done it and basically forced them to play Orianna. But they didn't. SKT made the play. They showed off great execution, methodical closing, and basically won that game. And it was 3-2 GG. Amazing win. They are legends. Even though I want to say Samsung were just as good. If they could have had a silver / gold medal, they should have had it. Amazing fighting spirit, never giving up. A crown, basically. Okay. In lane, crowned, almost outlaned Faker at some point, but Faker worked much better in team fights, and he was the true MVP alongside with Bengi. And I hope you enjoyed this video and want to check out others on my YouTube channel. See ya.